You are listening to the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and, of course, the Glebe Central Pub. I'm your host, Brandon Pillar, joined by Lalime's Martian. We love going to the Glebe Central Pub, Martian. We were there last weekend in the heart of the Glebe. They got the Sens shuttle, the best way to go to a Sens game. $17 gets you to and from the Sens game, and they got great food, great drinks, and great service. Check it out, guys, the Glebe Central Pub. This is another edition of the Postcast after a 4-3 overtime Ottawa Senators win in Chicago. Now, I'm excited, Martian, but really, this is the most disappointed and relieved I've ever been after watching an Ottawa Senators hockey game.
They don't ask how, though, Pilsy, and that's the nice thing. And they came away with the 2 points that they needed here desperately tonight. So that's the good news. But, yeah, I guess the bad news is that, maybe they just made it a little bit more interesting than maybe we would have liked. But I'm not going to complain about a few extra minutes of Senators hockey and exciting Tim Stützle drive to the net for the overtime winner. So, for me, I'm happy about it, Pils. I come away with this one with a smile on my face, buddy.
Yeah, I think as the game was going on, I was just so frustrated. Then even when they scored, I was like, you're damn lucky you scored, Ottawa Senators. If you wouldn't, we would have ripped you on the Postcast. But you know what? I'm going to put all that behind me, and I'm going to stick to positive vibes. You know why, Martian?
Because they got 2 points.
There you go. And big picture, your Ottawa Senators are back in a playoff spot. That win and the New York Rangers loss in overtime to the Washington Capitals puts the Ottawa Senators back in that second wildcard spot with 67 points. So that's just it. It wasn't pretty. It was dirty. It was disappointing. It looked like they were going to let it slip away, but they got the 2 points. They're back in a playoff spot, so I can rest easy now.
Yeah, you know what? Even though there was stretches of this game where the Sens didn't look that great, I was pretty confident in them this whole time, just with the amount of meaning that what they had going into it. Like I kind of just knew that they were going to win and they were going to pull through for us because they know how important this game is, and Chicago really has nothing to play for other than being spoiler. And it's a little early in the season still to be a big spoiler for other teams. We're still pre-trade deadline here, so I was confident in them the whole way, and there was moments where they were definitely dominating as well. So it wasn't as bad as it seemed. And honestly, it's good. It's fine. They got the 2 points, Pilsy. Things are good. Things are fine.
Their first win in Chicago since 2016-17 season. The curse of Chi-Town is finally over. We can get those demons out of us. I can finally stop reliving that terrible night I had in Chicago 2 years ago where the Sens lost 5-0. I feel like this squashes that story, and the Ottawa Senators, they get the win here. And let's talk about some of those momentum swings, Martian. You mentioned it. They started this game off very, very hot. I mean, they were getting chances left, right, and center. Sanderson had a slap shot that went off the post. It looked like it went in. Then it goes over to Zub. He gets the high wrister, and Brady Tkachuk in front of the net gets the little tip on it. That fools Soderblom, and it goes in 1-0 Sens. Martian, at that point, were you thinking, okay, the floodgates are open, this team's just going to dominate, and we might have a ultimate points night on our hands?
Yeah, honestly, I was thinking that, Pilsy, and I was thinking that even before this game started. I thought that the Sens were going to dominate this game. So when it started like that, I'm like, oh, this is exactly how I saw this playing out. And how classic is it for Brady Tkachuk to get that goal in Chicago after mentioning on Part of My Take? And that's pretty great that he did that whole Barstool tour there. I thought that was pretty cool that he was getting that kind of exposure because they're probably the biggest sports podcast going other than the LOSP, in my opinion. And so, he says, I've never scored in Chicago. I've always had a hard time scoring here. And it didn't take long for him to get on the board there, which was awesome. And 3-game point streak or a goal streak for Brady as well. It might be actually 4 going back to pre-break. I was seeing different numbers pop up on my screen, but either way, 3 in a row for sure since coming back from his injury after the Four Nations. So Brady Tkachuk is living up to what he said he would. He was going to come in for these last 24, 25 games and be an animal. And he showcased that right away in this one tonight. Maybe not his best night overall, I'd say. He looked maybe a little tired out there at times, but I still thought, setting the tone like that is Captain SHIT, as I like to say.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a big moment for Brady to get that one because the Sens were buzzing, but they needed to get on the score sheet there to get some confidence. And then they get another great chance. Shabbat shot off the boards. Gregor gets it. Soderblom pad save. And then there was another chance. Amadio with the partial break winds up for a clapper and rings it off the post. So the Sens were just going, getting opportunities, hitting the post, getting high danger scoring opportunities. But all it takes, Martian, is one little mental lapse and things can get out of hand and momentum can swing. And that's what happened here as the Hawks dump it off the boards from their own end. It banks off the boards. Sanderson thinks it's icing. It seemed like he thought it was icing. Slager beats him to it. And then Allmark kind of just reactively like knocks his stick out because I think he thought it was icing too, based on Sanderson's body language. And then Slager gets it, sends it out front, and it's who else but Donato pulls a backhand move and scores there. What was your thoughts on that play? Were you also of the mind, why wasn't that called icing? Or is it for you, just play hard till the whistle goes regardless?
For me, it's the latter there, Pilsy, and I don't know what Allmark was really thinking there. It looked like he just kind of hesitated, and Sanderson didn't think he was going to do what he ended up doing. Like, if anything, if the whistle doesn't go, just cover the thing. You have it. It's right there next to your pad and your paddle. So you should be able to cover that thing and just get that whistle that you were looking for, even though it would have been in the wrong end. If it should have been icing. I think a lot of people would agree with that. But at the same time, you got to play to the whistle. So I do think that was just a big mental error, and it came at a bad time because they lost all their momentum with that goal.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you've got so much momentum, and then it's just one play like that where, I think Sens fans in the comments are all kind of agreeing that, hey, that should have been icing. I agree with that as well. But you don't get that call. And then I really do think that would have been one, Martian, where I would have liked the goalie Allmark to cover it. Like, when in doubt, just freeze it. I know obviously you think it's going to be an icing and you think you're going to get an O-zone draw, so covering it and settling for a D-zone draw isn't necessarily the best case in your mind, but it's better than making a risky play and having Sanderson have to figure something out when there's two guys right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Or option B, just whack it into the corner with you got your paddle right next to the puck there. He could have just whacked that thing in the corner, and then at least the Blackhawks probably would have got there first, but they would have had the Sens would have had time to recover and realize that the whistle wasn't about to go. And I think Sanderson could have recovered a little better there because he was kind of caught in no man's land. Kind of, he looked like he was going to go for it, and then he didn't, and then by then it was too late, and it's going by him and Donato. That's a sneaky player right there. I actually obviously, had my eyes a little bit more on him tonight just because of all the trade deadline rumors. And, he's going to end up getting put somewhere else other than Chicago after this deadline. And we've been hoping for him to come to Ottawa. So I was watching him pretty closely tonight, and he's a water bug out there, and he plays hard. I would love that acquisition, but obviously with the cap situation, and it sounds like it's going to be a pretty quiet deadline for the Sens, even though they're in the hunt for the first time in 7 years. But I guess we'll see how it plays out. That's a nice looking player, though. Whoever gets him is going to be happy, I think.
Yeah, I like Donato as well, especially he showed well here. And important to note, the Hawks do not have any more salary retention spots. So the team that's going to get them is going to have to pay full price, only $2 million, or they're going to have to involve a third team that's willing to retain some money. And then you're going to have to kick them a little bit to get them to do that. So we'll see where Ryan Donato ends up. Plus, I think he's going to be a part of a bidding war. I think teams are really going to go for him. So, but Senators fans certainly got to see a good look at him. So that brings it to 1-1. Brady Tkachuk gets an interference penalty behind the play. Like they mentioned on the broadcast, bit of a dive from Bertuzzi there, but it is so far from the puck that's one of those where you don't really love to see it. And that puts the Blackhawks on the power play, and Teravainen has a hard pass across the slot to Bertuzzi. And then they kind of played back and forth there, Martian, because then Bertuzzi taps it, and it goes right all the way through the crease again. And then Teravainen's able to tap it in, scoring on the power play, making it 2-1. At this point, did you start to get nervous, Martian? Because this was a complete it seemed, at least to me, that the air fell out of the Sens balloon, all that momentum they got after going up 1-0, getting chances, and now they're down 2-1 quickly like that.
No, I think I just have thick skin as an Ottawa Senators fan. I've been through so many highs and lows, and it was so early in the game still at that point. I wasn't nervous at all. I was like Jordan Binnington in that press conference. Do I look nervous? No, I wasn't nervous at all. I knew that there was so much time left that this game could have gone either way. You could have gone back and forth several times between then and the end of the game. So, no, I was not nervous. And if you followed me on Twitter, Pillsy, you would know that.
Damn, that's -1 for me right there. Calling you Ross and then not following
Okay,
along stuff on Twitter.
I forgive you for the Ross comment because that's just muscle memories, all that. He calls me Pilsy too, so it goes both ways.
Yeah, it's fine. All right, so the the Hawks. I'm thinking about the Caps because they got the win that the Sens needed. The Hawks are up 2-1 at that point, and I really thought, Martian, that the line of Norris, Batherson, and Perron, this was a statement game for all three of those guys. I thought they played well. I have a feeling we're going to give them some shout-outs in our SensCentral Standouts. But Batherson, he's behind the net. He sends it out front. It goes off a skate of a defender and pops up, hits the crossbar, and then it's Perron that bats it out of midair like a designated hitter, and they score there. The angle that really showed that was the overhead angle where you can see, because otherwise they're just like, wait, what? Where'd it go? Did Perron even touch that? I don't know, but the overhead angle was a thing of beauty. Yeah,
it was weird how it just kind of went over and behind Soderblom like that, and just kind of ended up in that perfect spot where Perron was able to whack it in. And yeah, I'd like to start with him. Like, he's starting to look, I think on the last postcast I was on, I said he looks like he's a step away from needing to retire, David Perron. And tonight he looked like a completely different player, Pilsy. He was battling hard. He was skating much better, winning puck battles all over the place, and facilitating extremely well from below the goal line to Batherson and Norris. And yeah, that was just a good finish by him there too. He got rewarded for his good play up to that point in the game, and he didn't slow down from there. I thought he was great all night long, and Batherson too for sure. And Norris was doing his job finishing. So that line, if they can keep clicking like that, they're going to be a threat, and it's going to be key to have that secondary scoring too. So I was impressed.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a line that was clicking, having a good time all night long, Martian. And if you want to have a good time all night long in the heart of the Glebe in our nation's capital, there's only one place to go. It's the Glebe Central Pub. You can check them out at 779 Bank Street. Every time we're back in Ottawa, we always make sure to go there. It's such a good vibe. I actually love how the bar is set up. It's almost split in half. You got the left half with the dartboards and some tables, and then you got the right half with the bar and the stage. When there's live music, it's bumping. But if you got a big crew of people and you just want to have a table to yourself, you can head over to the left side, maybe play a little bit of darts and have the vibes at the Glebe Central Pub. Go to their website and check out when the Sens shuttle is happening. The Sens shuttle, $17. The bus driver, Sue, absolute legend, gets you to and from the game. Round trip. Takes you from the bar to the CTC. You have a blast watching the game, then takes you back from the CTC back to the bar so you can celebrate your victories with fellow Sens fans. They got an awesome menu. We had the smash burgers on Saturday. They were delicious. They got so many good drinks, and the service is awesome. Those servers are top notch for sure. So,
and not a bad brunch either. It's not a bad brunch there either. I hit it up a couple weeks ago, and it didn't disappoint, you know?
There we go. So not just good times at night. If you're looking to recover from a good night, that's something Martian is an expert at. And if he's got the stamp of approval to go to the Glebe Central Pub to get some brunch and get some good food in you, that is worth it right there. So visit them at 779 Bank Street. And guys, in this economy, remind me again in the chat how much the vibes are. Martian, are you aware of the price of vibes at the GCP?
Yeah, I believe they're free, Pills.
All right, there, you heard it from Martian himself. The vibes are free at the GCP. This episode is also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss that opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it makes every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or waiting for my team to win in overtime, I've never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Those green numbers, those trophies, hitting your account real quick. And right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Whew. All right, here we are, Martian, after a 4-3 overtime win over the lowly Chicago Blackhawks. It wasn't pretty, but they got it done. We got 344 people here in the chat vibing. It is, of course, a vibe cast here. Anytime the Ottawa Senators find a way to get back into the playoffs, in a playoff spot, I should say, we're going to be vibing here, Martian. How you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling good, Pills. Yeah, I don't think I'm as worried as a lot of people about just the general, state of the team right now. They're finally starting to get a little bit healthy. I know they lost Shabbat tonight for most of the game. He left in the first period with an illness. Not a great thing, obviously, and hopefully he's not sick for too long. I think he should probably be able to recover by Saturday. But yeah, the team's mostly healthy. They're starting to find grooves in certain ways. Like we just mentioned, Perron and Batherson and guys like that who have maybe been on the slower side lately are looking like they're going to start getting going here, and it's the perfect time. And obviously Brady's hot as well. So I'm feeling pretty good about the affair of this team right now. And they're not all going to be pretty games, right? And I know you come into this one expecting it to blow out a team like Chicago or decisively handle them, but there's no easy games in the NHL, Pilsy. And so the Sens got the job done as far as I'm concerned. So I'm feeling great. I'm feeling really good. And they're back at it. A nice matinee on Saturday. I'll be boots on the ground against the Rangers, which will be another very, very important game because that's one of the teams they're obviously in this race with. So that's a big one. And I'm excited for it. It's an exciting time. It's going to come right after the trade deadline too. So we'll see what all the teams do. And it's going to be fun to watch that go down. But it's a great time to be a Sens fan right now, guys. You got to enjoy this, right? This is not something that we're used to the last few years.
As Brady Tkachuk said, buckle up. Like this game is going to be probably an indicator of what the rest of the season is going to be like. So you guys heard it from Martian, the voice of reason. Everybody chill. It's all good. We're doing fine here. So after the first period, it was 2-2. And the Ottawa Senators, they were the only goal scorers in the second period. A bit of a snoozer compared to the first period, I would say. But it was a great play, a highlight reel goal. Sanderson pinches in. He slides it over to Batherson, and Batherson does a nice job. Not a huge fake shot, Martian, but enough where he kind of uses his body positioning and he kind of puts his shoulder into receiving that pass from Shabbat. So everybody thinks he's going to shoot, and then he drags it, passes it over to Norris on a tee. We talked about it in today's episode, Martian. You got to get Norris shooting that puck, especially as one-timer. And he wasn't even right on the faceoff dot. By the time the puck came to him, he had actually slidden fairly far into the corner. But it's that power, it's that release, it's that accuracy that he has when he gets it in his wheelhouse, and he blasts it in there. What a beautiful looking goal for our guy, Josh Norris. A little LOSP bump.
Yeah, and that was a nice play by Batherson, just to sell it just enough, Kelsey, just enough to make everybody think he was going to shoot that thing. And then when you give it to number 9 in that area of the ice, doesn't matter if it's on the power play, doesn't matter if it's 5-on-5, he's going to blast that puppy home, and he does just that. He always knows what to do with that thing. And it's a booming shot most of the time. So well-placed and super hard shot from Josh Norris. Soderblom had no chance on that one. He actually did one of those ones where he looked back like, wow, did he actually just bury that so fast at me? So it's always good when you're impressing the opposing goalie with your shot. So nice goal from Josh Norris. And again, that line looks good.
Yeah, they were great all night. So that's how the second period ends. Third period, this one actually got going pretty good. Ridley Gregg had a breakaway, and Soderblom had to make a big blocker save. And then it's the classic move, Martian. If you don't bury your chances on odd man rushes, especially breakaways, likely the momentum is going to shift quick, and it's going to go back the other way. And that's what happened, because then Maroon gets in all alone after a bouncing puck, goes over Sanderson. He dekes around Martin Powell and Maroon, showing some silky mitts there. Allmark makes the save, But then Maroon gets it, and he slides it over to Smith, and he buries it, and that makes it 3-3. I got to be honest, Martian, that's when I really got nervous. I think I was disappointed the other Blackhawk goals, but when he made it 3-3 there, I was like, oh, that did not look good. And that's from the fourth line from the Blackhawks. How did they pull that through? Really, Greg's got to bury that. And then I started spiraling a little bit, thinking back to my Chicago days and the curse here. So I got a feeling, though, we know you were still in a good spot. You messaged the group chat being like, nah, they're going to find a way to win this one. So I know you were in a good spot there.
I was in a good spot, but I did like seeing what I saw on that play. Like, I mean, Pat Maroon is not the fleetest of foot, and he essentially gets by Jake Sanderson. And Sanderson kind of took a weird stab at it where he tried to get it to Matt and Paolo, and he almost gave Maroon that extra step he needed to get onto that thing. And then, the mitts are about all he has at this point because, like I said, he's not moving very fast there. And he made quite the move on Matt and Paolo. He didn't know what happened. It was just like nice little dipsy doodle, little toe drag action, get the shot off, and he made a good play. He gets a lot done out there for a guy who's as slow as he is, Pat Maroon. He always finds a way, that guy. So good play by him. But again, it just seemed like I don't want to say it was a mental error. It was just a matter of just not bearing down hard enough on a play and just kind of maybe just zoning out for just that split second, and that's all it takes. And then, the puck ends up in the back of your net. So they got to cut that out. And I think that's what these 20 games or so down the stretch here are going to do for them, is they're going to be able to iron out all these things and realize when a moment's, prime. And I think at this point, every point in the game is important. So especially in a close one like that, you can't just give away a 1-goal lead to a guy like Pat Maroon, and like you said, the fourth line of the Chicago Blackhawks. They should never be scoring on basically any team, let alone a team that's supposed to be a playoff team. So don't like the habit there. I don't like what I saw, but you got to give Maroon a little credit. There's a reason he won a few cups in a row, and three was it 3 in a row? Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with that being said, didn't like what I saw, but still thought that the Sens were going to pull away with this one.
Well, I'm glad you did, Martian, because they needed that confidence. They had a couple other decent chances. I really thought that power play.
And really, Greg was creating for himself out there a lot, I found, too, before that goal, like you said. And then there was another one, too, earlier in the game where he kind of, buzzed through the neutral zone on his own and kind of created his own little breakaway. So I thought his legs were moving nicely tonight.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot for him, that left wing spot on that third line with Pinto and Amadio. I thought he had a good game as well, and I thought there was a no call on him later on in the game. He got tripped up and fell right into the boards, no call there. I thought there was a couple no calls in this one.
Amadio got hauled down. I think that might have been in the third, or early in the third or late in the second period. He got hauled down kind of in that neutral zone area as well.
Yep. But Amadio did get tripped up, and there was a penalty called. It was a really nice move, actually. Toe drag around a defender lying down to block the pass. He got tripped, still got a shot away, and it was a penalty. But the Ottawa Senators weren't able to get anything going on that power play. But I think, Martian, a big part of that is with no Thomas Chabot, Jake Sanderson had to be out there the full 2 minutes, and that's even for a guy like Sandy. That's a tough task. I mean, Alex Ovechkin does the full 2 minutes, but he just stands at the left dot and puts his stick up and just waits. Where Sandy's got a bomb up and down the ice. So that was a little disappointing that weren't able to get it there. But actually, surprising, Martian, the Chicago Blackhawks are a top 10 penalty killing and power play team in the league in both categories. So special teams is actually kind of their thing.
That's actually surprising. Yeah. Cause usually the good teams have good special teams. So with them being where they are in the standings, that is a surprising thing, but yeah, I mean, they did a good job killing that penalty. I thought that the Sens looked good on that power play. I thought for the most part, they were snapping it around pretty nicely, I thought, but I guess Chicago just does a good job kind of keeping them to that outside area, not letting any second chances get there. And so got to give them credit for that. But at the end of the day, the Sens win the game.
And let's get to that overtime. And it's Timmy. Who else? The buzz cut king himself, Tim Stützle, extends his point streak. And he took this one into his own hands. The Capitals again, man, I'm really thinking about them. The Blackhawks turn it over. Tim Stützle gets it, speeds into the zone, gets around his man, driving to the net, and then he gets hauled down into Soderblom, and then the puck, it doesn't even really go off his skate, Martian, as much as it gets stuck under his skate, and then his leg just kind of swings into the net. The Capitals immediately are calling for goalie interference. Or goalie interference and or kicking the puck into the net. I'm sure they would have taken either way, but that for me was a no-brainer goal because Tim Stützle was doing everything he could to not hit the goalie. He gets dragged in there, and then if there's people that think he purposely put that puck in with his skate like that, that's crazy. Like, that would be an insane amount of skill to have the wherewithal as you're falling down and as you're being dragged away to push your skate on the puck and shove it in the net like that. Like, that was just pure luck there. And sometimes the best goals, typically actually in overtime, the goals are greasy, and you got to take a greasy goal like that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't greasy the entire way, though, because that little toe drag move that he pulled to pull by whoever it was on the Senators' blue line just to give himself that space. So that was a great little move, and that was kind of fancy. So it wasn't greasy the entire way, and then he made another nice move to get to the net. But yeah, that net drive was pretty hardcore. And yeah, I'm not sure why I saw so many people so certain that wasn't going to be a goal, and including Gary Galley, before he even sees the replay on the call, going, "Oh, they're going to have to take a look at this one." Like, man, he just drove the net with authority, and he had the forward motion going. He got pushed in. I heard Timmy's post-game interview after the game. He's just like, "Yeah, I knew it was going to be a goal. I drove the net. I got pushed in, and the puck ended up in the net." He's like, "I knew it was going to be a goal." So you got to trust the guy who, most of the time, the guy who's scoring the goal knows when it's going to be a good one. And yeah, Tim Stützle is an incredible athlete, but he would have to be an absolute freak to be able to find a way to kick that one in from where he was. Like, he was all contorted. He had one arm over backwards. He had one guy holding his other arm. He's falling over. His foot's right next to the puck. He couldn't even probably see it. There's no way he would have done that on purpose. And if he did, that was really nice. But no, that's definitely not the case.
Well, and that's just the thing with goalie interference. I feel like in the chat, there's half people being like, "Oh, if that happened to the Sens, I'd be pissed." And then half people agreeing with us being like, "No way, that was goalie interference." And half people being like, "That was so lucky he kicked it in." And then half of the people are like, "No, he did that on purpose." So, like, it's one of those things where there's no black and white about it. But I am glad it worked out in the Ottawa Senators' favor. My God.
Yeah, I guess that goal was like, you remember the dress that's either blue or purple or like gold?
No, blue or gold. Yeah.
Blue or gold. Yeah, I always saw it as gold, so I could never remember the other color. But yeah, that's like just one of those things. It depends on who you are or your perspective. It's different for everybody.
Yeah, regardless of how it happens or what you think, it's a good goal. The ref said it pretty much immediately. That was a beautiful thing to hear. And the Ottawa Senators win 4-3 in overtime. On the other side of the break, Martian and I are going to have our SensCentral Standouts. It's the Locked On Senators podcast, the Postcast. We'll be right back after a short break. All right, the Postcast. I'm Brandon Pillar with Lalime's Martian. A 4-3 overtime win for the Chicago Blackhawks. The Ottawa Senators are back in a playoff spot thanks to the Washington Capitals beating the New York Rangers in overtime. It's a vibecast. People are saying it's a vibecast. Our guy, ONC Vibecast. You're damn right on that. That's one thing that there's no conflicting arguments about here. This is a vibecast. Martian, I will graciously hand things over to you. Who is your SensCentral standout for tonight's game?
You're always so generous to me, Pillsy. I almost feel like letting you go first here, pal. But I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm just gonna go ahead, and I'm taking a guy who tonight was also a disher, and that was Jake Sanderson. And I just thought that with Shabbat going, and I'm not saying that like Sanderson had like a crazy game that was so much different than how he always plays, but he always plays like this. He always plays so well with his feet, his skating ability, the way he's able to catch guys who are like, a couple steps ahead of him. And also, with his pinches and coming in and grabbing pucks that are loose, not giving the other team time to grab them. I think that stuff is always really impressive, just to keep possession for his own team. And also, he had the 2 assists tonight too, Pillsy. So he's getting on the points. And I'm gonna go ahead and steal that stat that producer Ross wanted to make sure that we wanted to get to here. And it's since January 7th, Jake Sanderson has 21 assists, which is leading all defensemen in the NHL since that date. So that's an impressive stat right there. And then obviously with Shabbat going down tonight too, he's got to play a few extra minutes, gets a little more responsibility, probably a couple extra tougher matchups. But I was surprised to see he only played 23-17 out there tonight, which isn't like a ton of ice time for him. We know he can go 25 plus, no problem, even into the 30s sometimes, Pilsy.
He was 31 last night, Martian, or last game, sorry.
Right. So, you would think that tonight would be the night that they would need him more, but I guess not. They spread it out a little bit, which is always a good sign, too, for any decor. But Jake Sanderson is the rock of that decor. He had 2 shots out there tonight as well, 2 block shots. So I'm going to take Jake the Snake Sanderson, as my SensCentral standout.
Yeah, good one. He's been buzzing. In his last 3 games, he is on a point streak with 6 assists. In his last 3 games, he had 3 in the game up against the Caps. So this guy is he's finding ways to produce offense. Martian, I'm going to go with who I thought you were going to take, so I'm glad I let you go first and I got my guy. I thought this was a great game by Drake Batherson. We talked about how good that line of Perron, Norris, and Batherson was. I thought Batherson was the straw that started the drink in this one. He finished as a +2, 16 minutes, 47 seconds, 1 shot on goal. But that assist and that little smart, subtle play that he did to slide it over to Josh Norris while making Blackhawks players think it was going to be a shot for a split second, that was everything. And then getting it right on a tee for Josh Norris was huge. And then, sure, the other assist, not really a beautiful one, but hey, you're going around the net, just get that puck out front, and good things will happen. It bounces off a skate, a crossbar, and Perron has to bat it in. It's not exactly conventional, but good things happen when you put the puck towards the net. So Drake Batherson, my SensCentral standout.
Yeah, I loved his game tonight too, Pillsy, and I've been hard on him lately. He hasn't been able to score, a ton. He's been playing top 6 minutes basically since Christmas, or like the last 30 games. Like, the guy has not been producing offensively at all. And you think that's probably starting to wear on him mentally. And I'm sure he's kind of got that, like, I got to get the monkey off my back feeling a little bit out there. And tonight he just kind of took matters in his own hands, and he was winning battles all over the ice. He was skating extremely well and feeding off of Perron and Norris. So good chemistry going on that line. And I agree with you. Drake Batherson was awesome tonight. So good standout, Pills.
Martian, how'd you feel about Linus Ullmark's game? It was a debate between Ross and I whether you should give him a break or keep going with him. How'd you feel he fared tonight?
I mean, I still am of the mind you don't really need to give him a break, but he's not a perfect goalie, that's for sure. I mean, there's been times like through December where he's looked absolutely unbeatable, but he definitely didn't look that way tonight. And I think he's definitely one of those guys who needs to get that early couple shots in, Pillsy, just to start feeling that puck. And I don't know, maybe he just needs a little extended warm up or something. But for him, yeah, there's just I also don't think he's a great puck handler. No, I would like to see him stay a little bit more in his net and be a little more like, when he does it, just be direct with it and don't mess around. So there's just like something about him that I'm not 100% comfortable in, but I know he can get there. So I think it's important for him to play as much hockey as possible going down the stretch, because he did miss a decent amount of time during the beginning or like leading up to the break kind of thing. So yeah, I think he's solid. I mean, tonight he was okay. Not great, that's for sure, but he was okay.
Yeah, I thought he made some big saves when he had to, but also there was some. I don't even know if I want to call them mental lapses, because that first goal, that was weird. Him and Sanderson thought it was icing, so that's not really a normal situation there. And then the Maroon to Smith goal, he had to make a big save on that Maroon chance, and then it's not much he can do there. So I thought he was solid, and I do think that it's good that he was in this game. But I am worried about the stretch that's coming up for the Sens. They got huge games. Like, they were barely able to squeak this one out. They're going to be going up against the very teams that are battling up against them for the playoff spot, including the New York Rangers, Martian, on Saturday, who are just neck and neck with the Sens, only 1 point back. And then the next game, guess what? The Detroit Red Wings, a team with 1 point back. And then you got Philly next. And then you got Boston, Toronto, and Montreal coming up. All of those teams are in the thick of things here. So we're going to need Allmark to be on his best moving forward.
Yeah, we will. And I actually like that they're playing all those teams. It's just going to kind of – yeah, it's good. It's gonna tell us where they are and which team is gonna be ready to go to get into the playoffs. If you can beat those teams, those are extra important. It's almost like, even though New York's not in their division, it still, to me, feels like a 4-point game, right? You know how you talk about that with your division opponents. So it's super important. It means more than probably any other game to this point in the season since tonight. So I think that, it's going to be huge, man. And I think it's going to put them in a good mode heading down the stretch too, to get, those games against these teams right now, because there's nothing worse than when you have to play them the last game of the season. And it's like, it's do or die for whatever team. And that's a very scary situation to be in, because you can, go from being a playoff team to not being a playoff team in a very short order. So I'm happy that they're getting it out of the way here now. And if they happen to win a couple of those games or all of those games, then they're going to have that confidence going down that stretch here too, where you're playing all these other teams and a couple Western Conference teams, and you got a lot of home games. And I think that that's going to lead them nicely into the playoffs to be ready to go, because you always see a lot of teams that, if they're having to fight for a spot to get into the playoffs, most of the time, those teams come into the playoffs looking fairly ready and being in tight series, because they've been playing playoff hockey the entire last part of the season.
Yeah, it's good to go into the playoffs hungry. And my bad, I hadn't refreshed NHL standings. The Sens are tied with the New York Rangers at 67 points now that the Rangers got that overtime point. A loser point. Couldn't be us, Martian.
Points percentage, though. Points percentage.
Yep. Points percentage, the Ottawa Senators are at a .549, while the Rangers are at a .540. Good point there. Martian, any final thoughts before we wrap things up here?
No, it was an exciting game. Probably too exciting for most people's comfort, but I'm glad they got the 2 points, and I'm excited for the game. First of all, I'm excited for the trade deadline, even though, it doesn't sound like Ottawa's going to be doing a ton, but I'm excited for the Rangers game on Saturday. A little matinee action. Pillsy, you know how much I love a matinee.
Yeah, you're a big matinee guy, because that allows you to get going early in the day, and then you've got a full night ahead of you, especially on a Saturday night. Look out downtown Ottawa for the Martian after celebrating a Sens win there. Final thoughts for me, Martian, is I am also very excited for the trade deadline. We saw some major moves happening today, even some that didn't. Actually, all of them didn't really make sense. They were kind of wild. The Tampa Bay Lightning are saying F them picks, we want players. And then I don't know what Nashville and Pittsburgh are saying. I think it's just inaudible noises going back between the two of them on that deal.
Yeah, that was a weird one, eh? I mean, everybody's kind of – it's so funny. The insiders just basically tweet out the exact same thing, just with different wording, and it's obviously coming from the GM or somebody within the Pittsburgh organization saying, we value Luke Schenn as a leader, blah, 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 but they also said they might flip him. So we'll see what Dubas is up to there. He's a sneaky little guy, and he might end up pulling something shady there and maybe getting a little bit more for Luke Schenn than what he gave up. So – we'll see. Maybe he's going to try to hold him hostage for the Leafs, because there was talk that the Leafs were going to try to reacquire Luke Schenn for the third time here too. So maybe a little gamesmanship going on there from Kyle Dubas. And he traded his boy Michael Bunting to Nashville too. So yeah, and those are two teams that aren't going anywhere this season. So I don't know. Let them do what they got to do, I guess. They just got to do something. So might as well get some business out of the way.
Strange. The trade deadline is always exciting. You never know what's going to happen, and it's only a couple days away, and that Ross and I will have you covered on the trade deadline here on the Locked On Senators podcast. We're going to have another episode, of course, tomorrow, wherever you get your podcast, on YouTube. We'll get Ross's opinion on how this game went, and I'm sure we'll cook up a couple other good segment topics as well. But for tonight, this was a 4-3 Ottawa Senators overtime win over the Chicago Blackhawks. They break the curse in Chicago, winning for the first time since 2016. They're back in a playoff spot for the first time in a while. Tim Stützle keeps his point streak extended, and the vibes are high. Once again, it's a vibe cast. Thank you to all 331 of you in the chat. Sens fans are best in class. The vibes are high right now. Let's go. We got a big game coming up this weekend, so let's keep those vibes high into the deadline and into the weekend. For myself, Brandon Pillar, for Lalime's Martian, this has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.